Hello everyone, trust your day is going on well. I am Baba Shokwema Jekodunmi from Ahmad Gates Radio Communication. I would like to welcome you to the maiden episode of a series of topics, but the major topic is sports leadership and global affairs. Today's episode will be leadership in global sports governance. We can all agree that good governance is essential for the rise and the integrity of any organization, which encompasses accountability, fairness, and also sustainable development. The principles of good governance aims to provide a framework for transparent, ethical, and effective management across all levels of sports. This review will synthesize existing literature on governance principles in sport, examining their implementations, also challenges and effectiveness. Transparency, as we all know, transparency by being clear and open decision-making processes, accessibility to financial reports, decisions and strategic plans to stakeholders, and also accountability defined by roles and responsibilities of governing bodies and individuals. Let's take, for example, FIFA. FIFA was in crisis more than a decade ago while it was being run by Joseph Sepp Blatter. FIFA, which full name is Fédération Internationale de Football Associations, was investigated for gross misconduct, mismanagement of funds, and also amongst the top echelon of the organization, including the hosting rights to Qatar World Cup, Russia's World Cup. Sepp Blatter was being investigated by authorities in the United States and was later convicted. Also, UEFA, which was being run by Michel Platini. UEFA is the Union of European Football Associations, and both of them were banned from all sporting activities, including CAF, which is Confederation of African Football. It really affected the integrity of these organizations. Apparently now, Gianni Infantino, who took over from Sepp Blatter, has been able to bring in some reforms. The political and managerial functions has been council, which is responsible for strategic decisions, and the FIFA administration responsible for operational tasks, has been separated. There is also the term limits for the council members and the FIFA president, which is the maximum of 3 4-year terms. That's a maximum of 12 years, after which they step down. And the ages past where João Havelange, who Sepp Blatter took over from, spent 24 years plus, and Sepp Blatter himself spent 17 years. Gianni Infantino now is in his 8th year, so if he decides to run again, it means he only has 4 years left. There's also the creation of independent ethics and compliance committees. This is to, as we all know, to strengthen the independence of ethics and judicial bodies to investigate and adjudicate cases of misconduct. Financial transparency too is also there, because their financial aspects took a major hit because major sponsors left. Implementation of governance principles have shown studies revealing a significant gap between the adaptations of these principles in sports organizations. While many organizations formally endorse governance frameworks, enforcement is often weak due to insufficient resources, which is also key, or resistance to these changes and principles when applied effectively, which can lead to increased stakeholders' trust, and organizational performance. Systematic reviews highlight that while governance principles in sports are widely recognized, their implementation still remains inconsistent across organizations and regions. Cultural, financial, and structural barriers is essential to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Like the saying goes, practice what you preach. Going forward, a focus on transparency, inclusivity, and sustainability will be critical to achieving effective governance in the dynamic landscape of global sport. Come without its challenges, and one of them is the cultural and contextual barriers. Governance often fails to account for regional and cultural differences, leading to some kind of resistance. There's also the fact of resource constraints. Smaller organizations would struggle to implement comprehensive governance due to financial and human resource limitations, because if they can't afford it, then they can implement it. The corruption scandals that hit FIFA, it implemented some reforms focused on transparency and term limits, like I said earlier. Although progress has been made, critics argue that deeper cultural changes are needed. And let's take example for the Part Sports Commission. Its governance principles emphasizes board diversity, stakeholder engagement, and performance measurement settings. Sets benchmark for other national organizations. But this, I feel, comes with its own restraints too. Because if you are looking at board diversity, it means people from different culture will be involved, which might cause a clash. Yes, it's advised that board diversity is needed, but it also comes with its disadvantages. The International Olympic Committee too incorporates sustainability into its governance with guidelines for host cities to minimize environmental impacts. Future directions include global standardization and local adaptations. While universal governance principles provide a foundation, local adaptations are essential for the effective implementation, which is very, very true. Because without local implementations, then what do we expect? Independent oversight bodies can monitor compliance and address governance violations. It is also needed to focus on athletes' welfare. Governance frameworks should prioritize mental health, because nowadays some athletes pull out of competitions to check their mental health, like Simone Biles, a gymnast from the United States, did. Also, the education and capacity building aspect, because symposiums, trainings should be organized for administrators and stakeholders on intervals on governance principles that can strengthen implementations and other aspects of sports, and also their governance abilities. Going through all this, we can all see that good governance is essential in showing integrity, transparency, and accountability. Like also I mentioned earlier, UEFA, Union of European Football, their current president, Alexander Ceferin, had to go through turbulent years because of the past scandals under Michel Platini. Also, CAF, Confederation of African Football, Issa Hayatou. And now the president there, Patrice Motsepe from South Africa, is doing, I believe, his own best to bring back integrity into CAF. I really want to say it is not only in football, it also happens in different sports. Like in 2013, the Formula One structure is run by the FIA. In 2013, signed new governance structure to the Formula One and redefined some certain conditions applicable to their relationship. In particular, to ensure that the FIA be properly remunerated for its regulatory role as they are the regulatory body. There are also the cases of match fixing across all levels and all sports across the globe. This has really affected all sports in so many ways, including betting by athletes themselves. Many athletes have been suspended due to betting allegations, like Sandro Tonali of Newcastle. He was suspended for a year from all sporting activities. A year means a whole season. The calendar year, I mean. Been taken to minimize betting by strict sanctions, but it can't be stopped totally due to some of the eye rollers being involved in it too. Sports leadership in global affairs too cannot be undermined. Like these sanctions on Russia for their invasion of Ukraine. The International Olympics Committee banned all of Russia's athletes, and UEFA also banned all Russian teams from all their competitions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, because as it is, no one or none of these sports organizations support the invasion of Ukraine. So that's part of what I'll be opening on and speaking on the topic, sports leadership and global affairs. If we use what the Australian Sports Commission did, we would also know for a fact that board diversity is in sports leadership is good, but still it has its disadvantages because it brings in individuals with diverse gender, racial background, and we all know board diversity in sports leadership refers to the inclusion of individuals with diverse gender, racial and ethnic differences, age, and it is not when someone younger than a board member will be having an idea and the board member will shut him or her up. This concept has gained prominence as organizations strive for equity, better decision making, and enhanced organizational performance. The benefits are enormous, which include diverse perspectives, enhanced organizational reputation, and also increased financial performance. Also talent attraction and retention while keeping governance standards. This will come at a cost because short-term implementation costs, training and awareness programs, introducing diversity often requires training initiatives to address unconscious bias and foster an inclusive culture. There's also the resistance to change. Tools of diversity in sports leadership, part of what the IOC, the International Olympics Committee, implemented, which by today puts 41.5% of their leadership roles into the female gender. Strategies by which this can be implemented successfully. Establishing clear goals is one of them. Is by defining measurable targets for diversity and inclusion, such as gender quotas or racial representation percentages. Scholarship programs can also create pathways for underrepresented groups to rise into leadership roles, which everyone agrees to. Benefits of board diversity in sports leadership significantly outweighs the costs when implemented thoughtfully. While short-term challenges such as resistance, cost, and adaptation exist, the long-term advantages include improved decision-making, enhanced financial performance, and a stronger reputation, which is the most important part of governance. By committing to diversity, sports organizations can drive sustainable growth. Of the major topics I highlighted are transparency, accountability, reforms, like I said, in UEFA, FIFA, CAF, and the likes, and also board diversity by integrating the female presence, different races, and also adding the core values to it, and also the major part, accountability, which also leads to integrity. And I want to also thank my dear audience for your listenership. I want you to look forward to the next episode, which is Sports and Human Rights in Global Affairs. To me, it is very, very packaged. Our programs run throughout the week, all the way from Mondays to Saturdays every week by 5. And as we all can agree, we believe governance in sports has become an essential area of focus. It cannot continue like this. Accountability, integrity, transparency has to be the watchword. And also gender equality, because the ladies now are out for equal payment. So gender equality, this cannot be undermined. We are all humans, and in going forward in sport, it is like Rapinoe, which was the captain of the US women's football team, stood up for equal payment. This is due maybe to they have won the female World Cup more times than the male counterparts have entered the semi-final or quarterfinals. Let me say that. And this also transcends to Colin Kaepernick in the NFL that took a knee in favor of racism in the NFL. That's the National Football League in the US. And also there's the Martin Luther King Day in the NBA, NFL, and almost all American sports, NFL, NHL inclusive. From the beginning, I made mention of governance in sports cannot be undermined. We need good governance in sports. There are some issues or some matters that happens that shouldn't. It's because of lack of local governance, not going to the highest stage, and that is more important. Because if you look at leagues now, like the Spanish La Liga, English Premiership, Italian Serie A, German Bundesliga, so entering tennis, like the Australian Open currently going on, the F1, Formula 1, there are bunch of conspiracies going on there. Maybe it's because of the betting sites opening now, because there are a lot of betting sites that are out for profit, and in another word, they have access to change the course of a game. Governance in sports needs to be transparent, because the stakeholders, the investors, like the likes of Coca-Cola, Budweiser, which are major sponsors of the FIFA World Cup. You look at NFL, the NFL Super Bowl is a major final, and as of one time, if I'm correct, they were making over $500 million on the halftime show, and they called the likes of Michael Jackson then, Beyonce, Dr. Dre. So this has to do with transparency and not by the books. The books have to be complete, yes, but transparency, accountability has to be top notch. And believe me when I say we have seasoned professionals with the facts, the figures, and everything you need in your daily life and your world. These programs are always on the top. Nothing brings it down, like I said earlier. The next episode would be Sports and Human Rights in Global Affairs. I really want to thank you for your listenership in this maiden edition. We all at Armored Gates Radio Communications look forward to always having you and always getting responses and replies from you. Thank you, God bless, and have the rest of the weekend blissful and blessed. Wish you a wonderful week ahead.